All right, you're going to come right up here. Stand right here in front of this bar, and my clerk will swear you in.
Can you spell your name for the record? Thank you. Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear that testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth will help you God.
You're going to walk around the support reporter, have a seat to my left.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Robin Smith Scott.
I'm going to have you move up or pull down that mic so we can hear you a little better. Thank you. Where do you work?
I work at Banner Life Insurance Company,
How long have you worked there?
13 years.
What let me start with what does Banner Life Insurance do?
We are strictly a life insurance company. Customers can purchase life insurance policies.
And what do you do for Banner Life Insurance?
I work in the claims department as a claims representative. I process death claims.
Have you previously had to testify before about a payout of a policy?
Yes.
I'm going to start by asking some real general questions so we understand sort of life insurance. How does someone go about getting life insurance?
They could go through an agent. More recent years, you can apply online. There's information, you fill out an application, basic information regarding yourself. There could be some financial questions, health questions.
Okay. And you talked about an agent. What is an agent in there?
An agent is someone outside of our company, but they do business with us. They'll generally try to, find the best coverage and possibly best prices through, different companies for their clients.
When we're talking about life insurance, is there something called a policy owner?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that means?
Pretty much exactly what it states. The policy owner owns the policy. They are the ones that basically can make any changes to the policy during the insured's lifetime, such as they can relinquish ownership. So basically do an ownership change. They can change the beneficiary. They could decrease the value of the policy, if they chose to. They basically have complete control of the policy.
What's the difference between the policy owner and the insured?
So the insured, the policy covers that person's life in the event of that person's passing. The death benefit would be paid to the beneficiary, but the policy owner, if that person is different than is not the insured, again, the policy owner is the only one who can make changes to the policy.
Okay. So there are times where the policy owner and the insured are not the same?
Correct.
Can the policy owner and insured then be the same person?
Yes.
As well? Okay. And you said the policy owner is able to change the beneficiaries. What do we mean? What is a beneficiary?
The beneficiary is who will receive the death benefit in the event of the insured's death.
Okay. Can the insured, if they're not the policy owner, change the beneficiaries?
If they do not own the policy, they cannot make that change.
Can the beneficiary, if they aren't the policy owner, change anything about the life insurance policy?
No.
Can they, when someone passes away, who decides who will actually be paid out? Who makes that decision of who will get the benefits paid out?
Well, as us claims examiners, we are going to review the policy, any documents that have been submitted through the lifetime of that policy, and we are going to determine and confirm who the primary beneficiary of the policy is.
So if someone obtains a life insurance policy and initially has one beneficiary, they can later file some new forms and create and change that to a different person?
Yes,
So you have to look through and make sure that you have the most recent beneficiary.
correct.
When someone calls in to make a claim on a life insurance, they say so-and-so passed away, is it customary for claims adjusters like yourself at Banner Life to sort of take that information and then look into all these things to make sure you know all of the different changes that may have occurred?
Yes, that is our standard process.
Does Banner Life Insurance keep copies of all of those policies as part of sort of your normal business practice?
Yes,
And does Banner Life Insurance keep copies of any modifications to a person's life insurance policy as part of the business practice?
yes.
If someone wants to modify who the beneficiary is, how do they go about doing that?
They would request a beneficiary change form. They can also access online if they are able to provide the proper security things through the website. But they would normally contact our customer service department, request a beneficiary change form, and complete it and return it. It is then reviewed by our customer service representatives to make sure it is completed appropriately. And if so, the change will be made. If not, then it's rejected.
Okay. Does a beneficiary modification form have to be notarized?
It depends on the amount of the policy. I believe anything that's $500,000 and above would need to be notarized.
So a policy for $1 million would require it to be notarized if you're changing the beneficiary?
Yes.
When people call in to the claims department requesting a payout, are those calls recorded?
Yes, they are.
And is that done in the normal course of business with Banner Life Insurance?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the life insurance policy with your company for Charles Vallow?
Yes, I am.
Are you familiar with how much that life insurance policy was for?
Yes.
How much was it for?
$1 million.
Prior to February 26th of 2019, who was the beneficiary of Charles Vallow's life insurance policy with Banner?
Prior to that date, Lori Vallow was the beneficiary.
So prior to February 26th of 2019, if Charles Vallow had passed away, would his wife Lori Vallow have gotten $1 million?
Correct.
In February of 2019, did Charles Vallow call Banner Life Insurance and request a beneficiary designation form?
He did.
Was one sent to him?
Yes, it was emailed to him.
And did Banner Life Insurance then receive a beneficiary designation form on February 26th of 2019 from Charles Vallow?
Yes.
Was that notarized?
Yes.
And in that beneficiary designation form, did Charles Vallow change the beneficiary for his life insurance?
Yes.
Who did he make the primary beneficiary for the life insurance?
His sister, Kay Woodcock.
Your Honor, if I can have my paralegal approach with 215?
Go ahead.
Looking at 215, do you recognize that both as an affidavit authenticating the Banner Life Insurance documents,
Yes.
as well as the beneficiary designation form change from February 26th of 2019
Yes.
that we were just discussing? In there, is there also a CD?
Yes.
Does that contain a recording of your call with Lori Vallow on July 15th of 2019?
Yes.
Would you like to listen to that to verify that?
Yes, please.
And do you recognize that as the call from July 15th of 2019?
I do recognize the call.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit Exhibit 215.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
215 is admitted.
And if we could perhaps break at this point
Okay.
since it's 12:01, otherwise it'll be playing for a
All
while.
right, let's take our lunch recess for the jury. Please remember the admonition will resume with the jury at 1:30.
All right.
Better may the
During,
witness
yeah, you can step down, ma'am. We attempted a sidebar during the previous witness. There were a number of questions. We had some technical difficulty with our headsets, so some of it didn't get captured by the court reporter. So for the record, on juror question form number 8, there were 3 questions. The first question was, were payments to Lori Vallow stopped after your investigation, which we did ask the last witness. Neither side objected to that question. The second question, if an applicant lied on an application, would an applicant have to pay back money they received? Both the state and the defense agreed that that question should not be asked, and it was not asked. The third question, did Lori notify Social Security of her remarriage or new marriage? The state did not object to, the defendant did object to that question as to its relevance. The state's argument was that it went toward motive. The court did ultimately ask that question of the witness. I think that's a accurate recitation of what happened at the sidebar. Does the state want to add anything or correct anything?
There you go.
Does the defendant want to add or correct anything?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Secondly, before I forget, I'm going to order that the clerk file the email that was sent by the state to my staff, advisory council, and the legal assistant for the defendant on Friday, April 11th at 4:35 p.m. And that's the email regarding the service of the subpoena on Bobby Vallow. Can we take up these motions that we referenced this morning at 1:15?
Yes, Your Honor.
We have a time to read those over the lunch?
I will try to, Your Honor.
All right, so we'll address those at 1:15. Anything else from the state?
There you go.
Defense?
Not at this time.
All right, we'll be recessed till 1:15. 001704. State's present, the defendant and her team are present. The jury is not present. Who's the state calling this afternoon?
After we're finished with this witness, we have Jeff Moberg and then Cassandra Enclan.
Are you able to estimate yet when you think you're likely to conclude your case in chief?
I think likely Thursday.
All right. So we are moving at a fairly quick rate. Let's talk about these motions. One of them may be relevant this afternoon. The motion in limine regarding the questioning of police. Has the defendant have a chance to review that motion?
I did get a chance to review it, Your Honor.
Can you
but
pull the microphone down?
I did get a chance to review it. I did not get an opportunity to discuss it with my advisory team. We were able to have like a 30-second discussion right before we came in. So I would like to have an opportunity to do that before I have to.
I think you said did you say Mr. Moffat's testifying this afternoon?
No.
Oh, you didn't.
Moberg.
Moberg,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry, no.
Can I see the witnesses? Witnesses.
So theoretically, she could, if we get to cross of Detective Cassandra Enclan, that could become potentially an issue there. I don't know. I only put,
Well, I guess here's the issue is, I don't know to what extent you might have intended on crossing police officers about why you weren't arrested that day or why your brother wasn't arrested that day or why it took however long for charges to be submitted or those types of things. Were those things you were planning on questioning anyone about?
Not exactly in those terms.
In what terms then?
Asking those specific questions, those were not on my list. However, it will become apparent that we were not arrested that day, so I don't foresee it being a problem. I'm not trying to
I think that the timing.
go into detail on that.
The timing of what was happening, how the investigation unfolded as far as timing, who was charged, who wasn't charged, would not be relevant. And I think that's what the state's motion is toward, because I think one of the first witnesses in the case, there was a question about why you or your brother weren't arrested that day, which again isn't relevant because if you go down that path, you could foreseeably open a door into, there's a lot of reasons why the investigation probably took quite a while, that the jury doesn't really need to know about, nor is it relevant for them to determine what did or didn't happen on that particular day that you've been charged with. But I'm just kind of giving you a heads up that I don't think it's relevant. If you think it's relevant and we get to cross of this witness today, and you think you have a question regarding the timing or who was or wasn't arrested, ask if we can take a break, all right?
Okay, sure.
Then we have, well, let me ask the defendant this. You've subpoenaed Robert Bobby Vallow, apparently was sent that subpoena or served that subpoena for a date that's already passed. Is this, again, someone that you believe has relevant information to your case?
No, Your Honor, that was just an oversight. That was a mix-up of clerical error. So we apologize to him or his family or any distress that caused. That was mixed up with an exhibit. His name was mixed up with an exhibit. It's very difficult on the phone at the jail when they cut me off every 20 minutes, and sometimes the notifications that get to my paralegal and my investigator do not come through clearly.
All right. The court will find that that subpoena, first of all, wasn't effective in the way that it was served out of state on an out-of-state witness. It sounds like the defendant's withdrawing that subpoena. Can we say that?
Absolutely, you can crush it.
So that one's withdrawn. Are there other?
Your Honor, just, I know you filed the state's email. I did have attachments of that on there. If those are part of the record, can we seal that as well? Because obviously it still has Bobby Vallow's information
I've
on it.
only sealed your email, and I've sealed the actual 2 subpoenas that we
Okay.
discussed this morning.
Thank you.
Was there another, Mr. Boudreau was served with a subpoena for this case, is that correct?
That is my understanding, Your Honor.
All right.
Those subpoenas were sent out from OPDS. We turned them into OPDS before you struck that witness, Your Honor. So
Okay, so that subpoena is effectively quashed, and as I said, that one would be filed under seal as well. Then we have, let me just check the time here, 1:23. The motion in limine regarding the testimony of the video observed by Janice Cox and Summer Shiflett. Have you had a chance to review that and discuss it?
I haven't had a chance to discuss that with advisory council, and I would like the opportunity to do that, Your Honor.
All right, that's fine. I don't think that's imminent for today.
No.
And then I think we can also take up the state's third motion to preclude later today or sometime tomorrow. Is your next, let's have the witness come back in. I think all our jurors are present, so we can start a few minutes early. Let me ask my staff, they reprogram those headsets? All right, so we'll see. All right, please be seated. The jury is present. You can continue with your direct examination.
Thank you. When we took our break for lunch, we had just admitted Exhibit 215, I believe. And inside this contained the beneficiary designation form that was filled out by Mr. Vallow. Oops, let me wait till we get our Elmo up. Correct, this is the form that we were discussing from the February 26th beneficiary change.
Yes, that's correct.
So we see that it's signed and notarized.
Correct.
And what this then shows is the primary beneficiary is now Ethel Kay Woodcock.
Yes.
And then were there also contingent beneficiaries?
Yes, there were.
What are contingent beneficiaries?
Contingent beneficiaries are listed in the event the insured passes away and the primary beneficiary had predeceased the insured, meaning passing away before the insured. Since the primary beneficiary was no longer living, it would then drop to the contingent beneficiaries to receive the death benefit.
Okay. So if Kay Woodcock had not been around when Charles passed, then it would have gone to Nicholas Charles Vallow and Zachary Chase Vallow.
That's correct.
When a primary beneficiary or a contingent beneficiary is removed from someone's life insurance policy, does Banner Life Insurance call that person up and let them know, hey, just letting you know you're not the primary beneficiary anymore?
No.
Why not?
They're not the policy owner, so they would not be entitled to that information.
So again, the policy owner is the person who can do whatever they want with the policy.
Correct.
On July 15th of 2019, did Lori Ann Vallow call Banner Life Insurance to make a death claim?
Yes.
And was that call recorded?
Yes, it was.
And is that the audio that you listened to before we took our break for lunch?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, if I may publish this? And again, that's just something that's the normal course of business that Banner Life records all of those people.
All of our calls are recorded, yes.
You have the white one? Yes.
Claims Department, this is Robin. May I have the policy number? Sure. Claim? Yes. Okay, one moment, please. May I have the name of the insured? L. Charles Vallow. And who am I speaking with? This is Lori Vallow. And your relationship to the insured? He's my husband. Okay, one moment. Okay, ma'am, I'm just going to need to ask you a few questions so that I can open the claim, and then I can go over the claim procedure with you and answer any questions that you may have afterwards. That would be great. Okay, first of all, may I have your daytime phone number, please? Sure, it's 8. And what was the date of Mr. Vallow's passing? July 11th. And what was the cause of his passing? Well, he was shot. Okay. So I don't know how I want to put that. Okay. All right. And I hate to ask, but is it? Yeah, you can just say yes or no. Was it a homicide? No, it was an accident. An accident. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what state did he pass away in?
Arizona.
Okay. Just bear with me for one moment. I just need to pull up a few other things.
Okay.
Okay. Are you aware of who the primary beneficiary of the policy is?
It's me.
That's huge.
Okay. And may I have your, I'm sorry, one moment. My computer just went away for a second. Okay. May I have your current mailing address?
Sure. It's 55.
Eight 5249. Okay, ma'am. That is all the information I need to open the claim. What we will do now is review the policy and the file to confirm the beneficiary information and determine the claim requirements that we will need to settle this particular claim. Once we have completed our review, we will prepare a claim packet to send to the named beneficiary once that has been confirmed. And the claim packet can either be mailed or emailed or faxed. How would you like to receive a correspondence?
Email would be great.
Okay, and what is your email address?
It's Lori, Lori.
Okay. All right, so you should receive an email from our office within the next 3 to 5 business days or sooner. It will have the instructions listed. Once you receive the information, if you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to give our office a call, and then we can go from there. Okay, is there anything I can help you with at this time?
That's it, I think.
Okay, ma'am. Well, I'm very sorry for your loss. You take care of yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we hear in Exhibit 215, that's yourself speaking with Ms. Vallow?
Yes,
And we hear her, you ask her if she knew who the primary beneficiary was, correct?
yes,
And who did she advise was the primary beneficiary?
herself.
We also hear you ask about sort of the cause of death for Charles Vallow, correct?
Yes,
And you asked when there was a pause if it could be, well, after she told you he was shot, right?
yes,
Did you need to know sort of, was it a suicide, was it a homicide, was it a,
correct, yes,
and so did you follow up by asking her if it was a homicide?
yes,
And she advised you it was an accident.
correct,
You got a phone number from her, the 808-755-5452 number,
yes,
and her email address, the Lori4Style at iCloud account.
yes,
And then you had verified with her that she wanted to receive any correspondence by email, correct?
correct, yes,
And in fact, did you advise her that the named beneficiary would receive information via email then?
correct.
Is it normal when you have someone call in to make a death claim to wait and look up things before you let them know?
Yes, that is our standard procedure.
Okay, so you weren't doing anything weird there, that's just what you guys have to
No.
do. So what does Banner Life do to verify that that person that Lori Vallow was the beneficiary?
We review everything on the policy file in the system, as well as any paper document that has come through, such as an ownership change, beneficiary change, anything of that nature during the entire life of the policy since it was issued, to confirm that information, to make sure that we are providing the information to the appropriate party.
Did you in this call know at some point that there was perhaps something incorrect about her being the beneficiary?
Not during the call.
Did you look up afterwards?
Yes.
Okay. When somebody calls in to notify that there's been a death and try to get the policy payout, what would normally be required? Do they just have to call in and then you have to send them a check if their name's on there?
No. We review each policy to determine the claim requirements for that specific claim. They can vary from claim to claim, depending on, the situation with that particular policy. That is why we do prepare a claim packet specific for each claim that has been reported. We provide a packet of information with a cover letter that lists the claim requirements that are needed. And the two things that are always going to be required is our specific claim form that we provide for the beneficiary to complete, as well as a death certificate, which states both cause and manner of death.
Okay. So after Lori Vallow calls saying she's the primary beneficiary of that life insurance policy for her husband, Charles Vallow, did Banner Life Insurance actually determine that she was not the primary beneficiary?
That's correct.
So now that you know she's not the primary beneficiary, how did you notify her of that?
I believe there was a letter that was submitted to her via email as she requested correspondence to be delivered to her in that aspect.
So would the letter tell her who was the primary beneficiary?
No,
Would the letter have told her when that was changed?
no,
It just advised her, would have advised her that she was not the primary beneficiary? Would Banner Life ever tell anyone who the new beneficiary is?
no.
Why not?
We can't release that information. That's personal and private information.
And that's something that just the policy owner has the right to determine.
Correct.
So was an email sent to Lori Vallow on July 18th of 2019 to advise her that she was not the beneficiary?
Yes,
And did she call back to speak with you about the issue?
yes,
And was there sort of a back and forth of phone tag before you were able to finally speak with her?
yes. I believe she left a voicemail for me as I was unavailable. I returned her call, and I believe I had to leave her a voicemail, and then she did call me back, and we were able to connect at that point.
Okay. Your Honor, if I can have my paralegal approach with Exhibit 280. And if you can listen to that and see if you recognize that as yourself and Ms. Vallow again from the July 18th of 2019 conversation. Maybe you can just let us know when you have heard and recognized that as the July 18th of 2019 call.
Yes, I do recognize the phone call.
Thank you. Your Honor, the state will move to admit Exhibit 280.
280.
280.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
280 is admitted.
And if we may publish that.
Claims Department, this is Robin. May I have the policy number?
Sure.
Okay, I do have the policy pulled up. Who am I speaking with?
This is Lori Vallow. I'm returning your call.
Yeah.
I missed you.
Okay, no problem. Let me just get all of this information up. Okay, so in your voicemail, you stated that you had something that stated you are the beneficiary of the policy.
Right. So I have the original policy where I was the beneficiary, the sole beneficiary, and then we changed the policy to where I was 80%, and we added two people, the Porches, who invested in our company for each 10%. And that's the last one I have. That's the last update that I have. So can you tell me when that was changed again? I mean, I know my husband is the agent on record, so he can change it. He's the owner.
Okay, I don't see anything regarding the second change that you said. I don't, with those percentages, I don't see anything at all with you as 80% at any time.
Okay, so maybe that's something he just told him he was going to do. That's just a handwritten copy I have that I found. So.
Okay, so well, I really can't give too much information, but I can tell you that the beneficiary was changed in March of this year.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what he was doing since we have 5 kids and we've been married for 15 years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I know he owes a lot of people money, and I was worried if I got money, they'd be coming after me for money.
Right, no, I understand that.
But now I will be with none. So, but did he change it to one person, or was it several people?
Unfortunately, I can't release that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. No, I know you can't tell. We're in the business. My husband is the agent. He's the agent.
Okay.
So.
Got it. Okay.
We deal with this business all the time, so I kind of know how it works, but I'm completely surprised.
Right.
We have our 7-year-old with autism that we adopted together, so I am surprised that he would do that without telling me.
I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that, even though it's community public. I mean, it's his policy.
No, this is a contract that we have with the insured, exactly. So he's able to make any changes, during the lifetime of the policy.
Well, can I check? I mean, I have a policy, a $2 million policy on me. And since he's the agent, would he have been able to change the beneficiary on my policy?
Not if he was the agent. He would have had to have owned the policy, but I can certainly check.
But if he would have signed my name, could he have done that? I wonder.
I mean, I don't, I would hope that wouldn't happen, but let me just pull up. Okay, let me just take a look and see what I can find on you.
Just under Lori Vallow. It would be under Lori N. Vallow. Because we have a $2 million policy on me, but I'm not even sure it's with Banner Life.
I'm not showing that it's with us.
Okay. It might be Life of the Southwest. We work with several companies.
Right.
But I could call them and ask. I'm just asking the question, like, I could call them and ask them and make sure the beneficiary is who I say. I mean,
I would. I mean, if you have a concern of that nature, I certainly would call and check on your own policies if you have concern if something may have happened.
Well, and I would have to change it anyway because he was the beneficiary as far as I know on my policy.
Right. So you would definitely want to update that at this point. And,
what happens, like if something happened to me, say today, and it's under him and he's deceased, what happens to that policy?
Well, if there's not every contract's different, but I mean, more than likely, if there was not a contingent beneficiary named, it would go to your estate.
To their estate.
Yeah. But if there's a contingent beneficiary named, then it would go to that person.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, thank you. I just needed that information.
Okay. No, not a problem. All right. You take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
So in this call, we hear yourself again with Ms. Vallow,
Yes,
and we hear her telling you that her husband left her with 5 kids to care for, right?
yes,
And she told you that she understands how life insurance works, right?
correct.
That she and her husband run this business about it, right?
Yes,
But then she asks you if an agent would be able to change who the beneficiary was?
correct.
So she didn't really understand it.
I felt that she did not understand it fully.
And again, she told you she understood how this all worked, but then she asked you what would happen if she died. At this point, who would get, her money since her husband had been her beneficiary.
Yes, she did.
So you had to advise her of the fact that if there were contingent beneficiaries, they would get it.
Yes,
Ultimately, did Banner Life Insurance have any insurance policy with Lori Vallow?
no, she did not hold any coverage under Banner Life.
When she was talking to you, at one point she asked you or said, there's nothing you can do about that, right?
Correct.
And there's nothing you can do to change that. That is something that the owner is able to do,
Correct. We could not make any changes.
regardless of if you feel bad for someone.
Exactly.
Is it awkward for you when you have to talk to someone who thinks that they were the beneficiary and learns they're not?
It can be, yes.
Was that your last interaction with Lori Vallow?
To my recollection, yes.
Who did Banner Life Insurance Company ultimately pay the $1 million policy to?
To Mr. Vallow's sister, Kay Woodcock.
And before the insurance company, before Banner Life would pay that out to Kay Woodcock, did you actually have to call and verify with the police that she was not involved in the homicide or the murder of Charles Vallow?
Yes, that's correct.
I have no other questions for this witness.
Cross?
No questions, Your Honor.
Excuse me?
No questions.
All right, are there any questions for this witness from any member of the jury? I don't see any. You can step down, thank you. State can call its next witness.
Thank you.